Hi, honeys. Welcome to tonight's live stream show. We have as our special guest a lovely team of the best guests. Sorry, surviving the survivor. But we have Jay from The Shaming of Jay. We have Katiecoolady with lots of spoons. And Steve Cohen from Surviving the Survivor. So thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having me. What's up, everybody?
Hi, everybody from Donna.
Thanks, Donna.
Yeah, I had sent Katie a similar tank top, but unfortunately, I sent it to the wrong address, or I sent it to the
user error. I gave her the wrong address.
Yeah,
it's there waiting for me. I'll wear it at another appearance. We'll have other anniversaries together.
Sunglasses. Your hair looks like Donna's, sort of. Yeah.
I tried to get that ponytail, that high ponytail.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to get
spoon in it.
Poofy little tuft of hair.
Get in there.
But really appreciate you guys all tuning in. So, Jay, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Sure. Hi, guys. I'm Jay. If you haven't seen me, I stream on YouTube. I stream trials during the day, and then at night, sometimes I'll make videos regarding the Adelsons. Are probably my most liked videos. So you may know me from some of the videos I made for my series Wendi is Going Down. I just stream trials during the day and make videos at night, and it's kind of what I do. And thanks for having me, Judy.
Yeah, sure. And from watching your channel, it looks like you had a career in insurance for quite a while. Right?
I handled bodily injury claims for auto insurance for 18 years at Geico and Liberty Mutual. I was the guy who, the attorney, when someone got into a car accident, someone sues you. I'm the guy at the insurance company who is giving you too little money, or at least your attorneys are saying I'm giving too little money, and the attorneys at Geico are saying I'm giving too much money. So I hated that job a lot, and I ended up taking money out of my 401k and quit, and then went into streaming, and that's kind of what I've been doing since then.
That's amazing. Plus, your wife has a channel too.
Yes,
right?
my wonderful wife Shannon has a channel, Mindful Crime Couture. She also does. She's done a lot of videos on Wendi Adelson as well, kind of from a psych perspective. And she makes a lot of my graphics and thumbnails and does a lot of work behind the scenes for me. So without her, I wouldn't be able to do any of this, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing how quickly your channel has grown just in 1 year.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. My first stream that I did was the Gwyneth Paltrow trial, and that was, I think, if I remember, March 27th or something. So yeah, it's been a wild ride learning this YouTube business and streaming.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, and I'm still curious to hear your thoughts, maybe some other time, about Charlie's disability insurance claim.
Yes, thank you for saying that. I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I'll definitely take a look and just see from my eyes as an insurance adjuster what was kind of take a look.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm definitely curious to hear your thoughts on that, Jay.
Yeah, it sounds like we had a special investigations unit at my insurance. Like whenever we thought something was a little shady, we sent it to them and they would investigate it. That sounds like what he was doing would be sent to that unit and investigated fully. So yeah, thank you for saying that. I'll definitely take a look at that file.
Yeah, cool. Okay, and what about you, Katiecoolady?
Just thinking we got an expert witness in the house right up here. He's our investigation unit right there.
Yeah.
I brought my spoons. I came here because I heard something else. Wait a hell. What the hell is it? Oh my God, what did I do with it? Here. I heard there was a lobster party. So I brought my lobster crackers. I'm in search of a lobster claw, so wait for that to show up.
Poor Donna and Charlie, they're going through withdrawal.
I brought my entire thing of spoons in case anybody needs one. In case anybody ends up in the detention center, I'm all set. Okay, got you covered. Got my lobster crackers, my spoons. That's about it. If you don't know me, sorry.
Wow.
I'm stuck in Donna.
What are some of your favorite Donna lines?
Well, it all goes back to the domestic coordinator. That's where it all started. The domestic coordinator.
Yeah.
So I really can't really top that one, you know.
I can't believe that fits in your hair.
I know. They're falling out. They're clanging and jingling. But anyway, we'll keep sticking them back in.
Okay, cool.
Goes with the hairdo. Judy sent me a top. I screwed up. Didn't get it. So I tried to make the best of it. But anyways, that's what's happening.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'd like to send you my typed out transcript of the phone call between Donna and Sammy, because maybe you could do it with Jay or somebody who's willing to play the part, because I think you would do such a funny job of that.
Or even Steve. Both of them have the accent. I'm just cosplaying this accent. I'm going Boston. Sometimes I'm Michigan. Sometimes I'm Southern. It just all comes together. But it's Donna.
What accent?
My version.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
As myself.
Thanks.
Okay, let me take off the glasses. I have a channel on YouTube. Me? Okay. Yes, I have a channel on YouTube, but I just renamed Katiecoolady at the Heart Space, which is this. I just sort of created this alcove in my area of my home. I attended Charlie Adelson's trial and started my channel for one reason, to have a place to give jury observations, which I did throughout Charlie's trial. I'll be attending Donna's trial and doing the same. I became friends with Markels through that process and consider particularly Ruth Markel a very dear friend. So I'm a sister of a homicide victim. That's part of my background that drives me to do this kind of thing, what I do. So I just kind of go to the trials and give my observations of the jurors with anonymity and kind of behind the scenes color commentary that maybe you wouldn't see on the camera. And I'll be doing that for Donna's trial. One of my standout moments of this whole case was Joel Waldman crossing paths with me the night that Donna was arrested, and happened to catch me awake and knowing that was going on, and like running around my house with my laptop. And he's like, Kathy, you got to stop moving. You're like all over the place. Because I was so, like, as everybody was, like, blown away. I mean, we had just gotten out of Charlie's trial a week before, and he's like, you want to come on with me? And I'm like, okay. And I mean, I literally threw my bathrobe on. It was on live with Joel that night, watching a journalist roll out this breaking news that he didn't know if it was real or whatever. He's doing his checks like a journalist does, and I'm just along for the ride, like hanging on in my pajamas in bed. Like, I mean, it was just crazy. So that's a major Donna memory that I have, is that unforgettable evening with Joel on STS. So anyway.
And you did so good. I remember reaching out to you. I was watching, and you crushed it that night. You were so good.
I don't know. I mean, I'm afraid to go back and look at it, honestly.
You were great.
But I was honored to be asked, and just crazy, wild night. So, yeah. And Steve is a big part of that show. So
yeah.
Big ways to Steve.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And hello, everyone. And I'm a big fan of everybody here. And it is definitely a nice community we've assembled. And it was nice to meet, Judy and Kathy in Tallahassee. We're going to be back again. I'm glad they switched the date to make it more amenable, with the Jewish holidays. Jay, I don't know if you're going to come, you and Shannon, but you're welcome.
I think we might come for a couple of days. We're going to try. Not the whole thing.
I think you get the flavor. And Judy said that she'd bake banana bread, and that she'd bring bullet bourbon, and she'd take you to Metro Deli. Right, Judy? I'm paraphrasing, but you basically said all of those things.
Yeah, I'd be glad to pack up some loaves of banana bread.
Yeah. But I think I was pleased to see other people, take this up and offer different perspectives on this trial. But my background, I'm a former TV producer. I worked, at CBS Early Show. I worked at Channel 5. I worked in radio. I worked at different places. And then when Joel and I started hooking up to work together, we, I think, Joel Carmen, I, and Ileana and the people there, I think we were more generalist about things. And then I kind of got fixated on the Markel trial. And I felt like for a lot of reasons, it was ideal for us to kind of, pursue. And we started doing it. And I think, like an alchemy of sorts happened. Like, we were effective. We had good people on. We got into this community and we did it off of, I remember Fancy Fiction had Kathy on, and I saw Kathy. I was very impressed. And then I remember when she started doing her own trial, I was like, wow, she's really good. And then similarly, I was impressed with your creativity, Judy, your passion for it, your dedication, your generosity towards others about this. It's a nice spirit. Whenever you've had a big get, and you did a great interview with Ryan Fitzpatrick, you've had many others, you're usually like, hey, would you want so-and-so? So I think it's a nice community. I remember Jay helped us with getting a feed, with different things. And I appreciate more people getting into it. I think that's the spirit of it. And I think Jay threaded together, I've watched a number of his videos, a number of stuff with Wendi, which bothers all of us, that she hasn't been tried. And so I think, I know I haven't shut up. So you were like, hope you, like at the beginning of this, she was like, oh, hope you guys could talk more. And we were like, we're all blabbermouths. I mean, as
that's okay. That's why we're on YouTube.
Like people say like, oh, one time I didn't talk to Steve for 2 months. I didn't want to interrupt him. I'm down with that. So I got it. So I'm going to shut up for like 10 seconds.
Steve, well, my question originally was, would you like to introduce yourself to people? So in a nutshell, you're a former TV and radio producer.
I worked at, like my background is news, like Joel and I worked together briefly at Channel 5 in New York, and we contemporaries, around the same age, and we kind of knew each other. But during the pandemic, he had reached out to me. But but I spent years in radio and television and network and local area, most, local in New York, network radio, then CBS Early Show, where we covered big stories, and then Good Day New York. And then one thing I will say, being in Tallahassee, and I remember sitting with you guys there, it felt like old times. Do you know what I mean? You're covering a big story. You meet different people, like, and I felt like there was it definitely brought back those memories of covering big stories, which might have been the Elizabeth Smart trial or the Martha Stewart case or Bernie Madoff, like whatever big stories were going on, I had covered as a producer. And I promise I'm not going to keep talking this much. I'm going to shut up. But
it was a nice feeling to meet you guys and to be there with a group of like-minded people who wanted to support Dan's parents and sister there. So I hope they felt the love and the support from so many people who care about Dan. So yeah, so that's why I plan on being there also. We'll see how my voice holds up, if I can still actually live stream. But, just being there to be supportive is good. Yeah. So do you guys want to go ahead and watch this short video? Okay. So, I've done a bunch of comedic videos. There's a playlist. And of course, some people were very critical and they thought it was really beneath me or just inappropriate and stuff. But, it's like, it comes with good intentions, to try to bring attention to Dan Markel's murder. And plus it's kind of like a way to pass the months before the next trial. It's kind of hard to come up with content when your focus is just this one case mainly. So,
and you need some levity. You need some levity in these cases. And there are some moments that are fine. Like, I don't think personally, I think there's nothing wrong with it. And if people have a problem, they can go somewhere. They could not watch then. I mean,
yeah.
Well, you're never gonna please everybody, first of all. And it's kind of like the nail that sticks out gets hammered. And I think you guys are brave to put yourself out there and to do it. And yeah, I think Judy's very well intentioned, but I also think like maybe a lesson, provided with humor is often a lesson learned, and I think your intentions are good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sometimes I still do serious things too. So, you can't please everybody, but plus my voice is better when I make Donna's voice. So it's easier to make these like silly noises and stuff. So that's another
The irony.
Okay. So we'll watch this and then, this TV, it's about 9, I think, and then we can comment on it. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I hope it works. Let's see. This is called Donna Adelson, Triggered by Shul. Emails to Wendi and the Bump Parody.
The pill bottles, I love it.
Tuesday, June 25th, 2013. Subject. Wendi, please read. Very important. Hi, honey. Okay. Just like it says on your necklace. Never, never, never give up. It's time for action. It's time to take control of your life and not let Jimmers think he just won anything, but having you remain in Tallahassee 8 hours away for the only family you have and lose out on what will be a job that will afford you and your children advantages that they will never otherwise be able to enjoy. Let's show this fucker what will make him absolutely miserable. You know his weak points. Money, religion, control. You have 5 weeks before your court date. I know you have a job that keeps you very busy. However, the rest of your life, and consequently, Dad's, mine, and yes, even Trolley's, will be affected by how well you can perform/act before July 31st. You can be a good actress when you want to. I've seen you in action. You need to put on the performance of your life. Jimmers hasn't beaten the Adelson family yet. You have a very strong family behind you. Just remember that. Dad and I have done everything we could try to help you for the last 10 months. Now it's time to help yourself. We believe that you will be able to make this happen if you can put these actions before everything else this next month. And you've only got the kids a limited number of days to do this. We believe that Jimmers will be saying, "Stop this!" And you'll be telling him, "You wanted me in Tallahassee. My children are going to fit in this Bible belt. They're going to church every time I have them. I'm having them privately tutored at home to get them caught up for the Sunday school classes that I've registered them in for the fall. The class time coincides with the service I'll be attending. Tell them that you've got a new outlook on life and a new hope, and you'd like to go to heaven. Perhaps he would like to join you and the boys at church. Plan of action number 1. Take photo of boys dressed nicely, standing at the front door by the sign of a Tallahassee church. Then change your Facebook status photo to this, so everyone will see this. Perhaps a line under there. New beginnings in Tallahassee might be nice. Within minutes, Jimmer should either see this or will be getting calls from his friends/acquaintances about this. How happy do you think he will be? Number 2, make arrangements to get the boys caught up with a private tutor. Teenage Catholic Church member and parents who will come to anything else to teach the young men about Jesus. If you don't have time to arrange for this to happen, I will gladly do it for you. He or she will serve as a good babysitter assistant for you while you're preparing dinner, etc. Smiley face. Take something from him. Right now, he's got everything just the way he wants. We need to take from him in order for him to negotiate it back. This is your chit. The extremism that Jibbers is already teaching the boys is nothing more than brainwashing. Religion is brainwashing. It's control of the masses. It affects who your friends are, what activities you do, how you eat, how you dress, how you pray, everything. There's no doubt you won't have two little Orthodox young men on your hands, with the only religious influence over them being Jibbers. He's already got on thinking that people who eat shrimp are bad. Hot dogs are disgusting. Lobster is gross. Wait, Ben's not even 4 years old. Wait till he's 8. You're not teaching them anything different. You don't teach them that on Saturdays they can go to soccer or any regular organized sports activity or even swim lessons. You let them play in the park or in that house. Jibbers has an organized plan that he's been doing pretty much since they were born. School every Saturday morning that he has them. School for every Sunday that he has them. School for every holiday. School parties. School. That won't be their life. We don't want you to be the outsider who doesn't join in on what the rest of the family is doing. We think this is all about negotiating. I don't think you realize the type of financial offer we're considering. We're planning on you, Charlie, and Dad and I going as high in equal parts in a $1 million offer. That's $333K from each of us. Obviously, the more chits on our side, the better our chances are that we won't have to go that high. You have to show us that you're doing your part in this too. We're a team. We can't do this without your help.
Excuse me, Miss Adelson.
Oh, you scared
How you
me.
doing? Just want to give you this. Listen, don't be scared. Listen, just want to let you know, we know that your family has been taking care of Katie and her friend Tudo for quite some time after your problem on the north has been resolved. And I want to let you know that my brother is incarcerated. We help your family with this problem you guys had up north. And we want to make sure that he's going through some rough times. We want to make sure that you take care of what he's going through the way you're taking care of Katie and Tudo. Well, this will explain it.
I don't understand.
Thank you.
Bravo, bravo,
Thank you. Thanks for watching this homemade,
bravo.
Yeah, super duper.
homemade
Excellent.
crappy video. I
It's
mean,
hilarious.
I had a little too much time on my hands. That was where, COVID was still happening. So I had a lot of extra time on my hands. So my son and I went to the NC Bar Center parking lot to film that walk down the steps and the running through the parking lot.
Amazing.
But I mean, it was fun because I got to tell my Filipino friend Hector about the whole case. And, I asked him if he'd be willing to play the special agent and, went down to where he lived. And then we went out to lunch afterwards. So it was kind of like a fun reason to socialize.
He nailed it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point was that he was supposed to not really sound like a Latin King gang member anyway.
Right. But he looked the part.
Yeah, because he was still like, he had his work badges like stuck on his pants, and he was reading from the piece of paper that I gave him.
What a project. I loved how the different scenes in front of the computer kept shifting perspective and like having different bottles. Like there's a bourbon and then there's like a White Claw and they just keep morphing, pill bottles.
Afraid to ask one question, like the giraffe. I mean, like, that, am I like losing it? Like, what was the giraffe represented?
Jay.
Jay, do you understand the giraffe reference?
I don't know. What's the giraffe reference?
Oh, you don't?
Oh,
No.
well, Patty's Playhouse just showcased it recently. But long time ago, maybe 12 or 13 years ago, Donna put it on.
I got it. Yeah, when she was on.
When she was on the.
Wendy.
Oh, yes, when
Very
she was
clever.
on the Weakest Link.
Well, I always wanted to be a giraffe.
Or a contortionist, or because I got obviously the rest of it's okay. So
yeah,
never mind.
The giraffe thing really has to do with Donna's YouTube video from a long time ago when they went to a zoo and she filmed Harvey taking some sort of like food for a giraffe. I guess he put it in his mouth. Yeah, and then the giraffe went over to Harvey's mouth and like ate the snack right out of his mouth. So she titled it something like Harvey kissing the giraffe.
Wow. But she did say on Weakest Link when I was little, I wanted to. I forgot about that.
Yeah, Wendi.
I thought that's what that was.
And so glad I asked. No such thing as dumb questions. Maybe only dumb people.
Why is the giraffe keep showing up in this weird family?
Yeah.
Poor giraffe.
What's the reference? Yeah, it's kind of like some people who got really disgusted when they saw me wearing that red robe, because some of them didn't understand, like, what's the reference with this red robe? Like, that's just, that's just horrible. Look at you, it's so disgraceful. And I'm like, come on, you obviously didn't see Jay's short video where Wendi was wearing that skimpy, low-cut red robe dress.
Which obviously inappropriate for somebody's bar mitzvah, so yeah. I mean, but I think it's kind of like a lot of like when you watch like cartoons or entertainment where even if you didn't get every end, you know what I mean? Like you could, like, even if you get every single reference and the details separate the good from the great, like some people now are noticing, obviously you have the same color, patterns and how you were so meticulous to actually make it yourself. And you previously you had the Wendi dress, which she's wore at least twice in the trials.
Yes.
But yeah, what a evil family. And Jay, could you, and it's obviously the Judy show, but could you explain what was it about this that really got you interested in this case?
Well, I didn't watch any true crime before I started my channel, if you could believe that. So there were two cases that Shannon, my wife, had me watch: the Murdoch documentary on HBO, and then there was the Dateline on this case. But particularly, I have gone through a pretty contentious divorce to the point where my ex-wife's family similarly, their brother like no longer talks to them. It was a super toxic thing. I have a grandma named Ruth who gave me her diamond, which went to my ex-wife, who has never given it back to me. So I didn't even think of it as I was covering this case, but there was a lot of similarities. And I got to be honest, the other thing is I just can't stand Wendi. She drives me insane.
Yeah.
And it really, like, I hate that she thinks she's smarter than everyone and that she thinks she's going to get away with it. And the other thing is, when I started watching it, there's so much. There's three trials. There's police interviews. So like when I'm making content, like there's a lot I can draw to like make my videos and stuff like that, as opposed to newer cases where a lot of it is speculation. We have all this stuff that's out there, like. So that's, I guess, some of the reasons why I guess I was attracted to the case, or why I've been following it.
And I was just gonna say, like, yeah, I thought for a lot of the same reasons. I think, look, true crime, like any case, you kind of live vicariously through those people. You want to see justice, right? And
yes,
and I think it bothers you. You know, like today I was actually talking to Joel, and there was a part of me that's, I don't know if you guys think this way, but like once you see one, like these are criminals, they're sociopaths, they're narcissists, they're crazy, like, and they're evil people, and you want to see justice for the Markels. It's discouraging to see that it's taken so long, and they're out there eating lobster and doing this while they're spending all this time with, Ruth and Phil's grandkids and not letting them see him. So there's a lot of reasons there. But then I don't know about you guys though. After a while, do you kind of just be like, okay, they're criminals? Once you've seen one criminal, you've seen them all. Maybe I should ask you that, Kathy. Do you know what I mean? Like, because after a while, you're like, okay, they're freaking lowlifes. They just are well dressed. They've had good backgrounds, but they're scumbags. That's what they are, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I could spin off of that, Stephen, I don't know if you experienced this, or Judy, in person, is that there is, when you are there in the trial in person, there is a very much an ordinariness about the whole thing. Like when you're watching it on TV, there is a sort of a removed field of glamour, so to speak, about these players. But then like when you're there in person, they're just ordinary.
Well, wasn't that, again, I know Donna's fond of Nazis, but Hannah Arendt, when she wrote The Banality of Evil, and she was looking at these people, they're not like some fantastic monsters. They're, a clerk who's extremely anti-Semitic or whatever it is. And there's a freaking dentist, and if you go back to the first piece, In-Laws and Outlaws, that ABC did a good job about it. Michael Weinstein, and speaking on behalf of the Adelsons, was like, they're not the, and you obviously, Jay, kept saying Grandma Gotti, but like they're dentists. They're not, they're not mobsters. They're not gangsters. They act, you are what you continuously do, as Aristotle said. And if you do commit crimes, you're a criminal,
I think that's,
sorry.
I think what you're saying, Steve, is part of what draws people, because they are so ordinary people that could be your dentist or your neighbor or your kid's grandparent or something. And that it's just so mind-boggling that can be happening under our nose and we don't see it. Absolutely. And so I think people really are drawn to trying to understand that, trying to put some sort of a face to it. And you really kind of can't, and you can't really understand.
And you just keep thinking about like, how is
it possible? How can I spot it?
And
things like that.
Some of the old like aphorism about TV news, right? Like, okay, if a dog bites a man, it's not, it's not news, but man bites dog. Or if you have people who otherwise have every possible advantage, so yeah, I mean, but that definitely is what caused millions of people to watch the Wondery piece, or other great podcasters take it up. But, yeah, I mean,
yeah, and
I think about it a lot, And
like I went through a contentious divorce, and a lot of people have gone through like tough things, but this family got away with so many things in their lives that they put a hit on a person. Like they were hitmen that they put on Dan Markel. Like it's just mind-boggling. Like a divorce is tough. You get through it. You move on, but they were just so above it that they literally hired it. It's hard to imagine, but that's what they did. And that's what the mafia does. They put hits on people. It's just,
Well, it's, obviously everybody's reflecting on O.J. Simpson, right? And then all this stuff comes out after that case, which was, we were in court for 2 weeks, and that case was 11 months. I don't need to rehash the whole thing, but one of the people said that at one point O.J. Simpson, by the way, like Nicole Brown Simpson called the cops on him 65 times or something like that before, you know what I mean? But it was that he looked to put a hit on her with a Gambino crime family. And so I do think Georgia and her team did an amazing job just trying to say, look at these freaking emails that Judy just read from. Look at the animosity you had towards him. It correlates. It correlates to motive, means, all of that kind of stuff, So, yeah, I mean, but I do think, 10 years later, you're still kind of like, how did this go on so long? How'd they get away with it? Just a wanton disregard for people, or we think we're better than other people. So I guess that's what fuels your animosity towards Wendi, obviously.
Yep. But by the way, two things I thought of. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please go ahead.
I was just going to say, by the way, just two things I thought of as Judy was reading those emails. One, imagine now in Donna's trial trying to rehabilitate that to make her seem like she's just a grandmother after listening. Like, just imagine. And the way Judy read them is how she's out of her mind, angry, and like the vitriol that comes out of it. And then two, just imagine when I think Donna's going to test. I don't know what you guys think, but just imagine when she gets on the stand, which I think she is. And we got Georgia on cross asking her about those emails and asking her about all those things. That is going to be wild. I mean, I don't know if you guys think she's going to testify, but if Charlie did, I think she's gonna.
Me too.
I think she has to testify.
I think she has to testify.
Yeah. I'm remembering, going off what you're saying, Jay, is that, how unfathomable it is that they planned this so far out. There's so many places they could have caught themselves and stopped it, but they just kept moving forward. And then if you believe the case, which I do, that Georgia Kappelman presented, they were presenting this as a birthday gift in their family. They were celebrating this death of the father of their children and grandchildren. Like, that's so far beyond. And I remember Joel asked me a question that night that Donna was arrested. And the question he asked is like, Kathy, do you think that they're sitting there like blaming each other? Who do you think that they're blaming? You remember this question for this? And I said, it's clear to me who they're blaming. They're blaming Dan Markel.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They have been blaming him all along for the predicament that they're in, that he forced them to get to this point where they had to kill him. And now he's haunting them from the grave. So they are sitting in their cells blaming Dan Markel for the predicament that they're in. I guarantee you, not each other, but him. To this day.
Such a great
point. And in absentia, Ruth, Phil, and Shelley Markel are being blamed and tortured and punished for the sins of Dan Markel, and the sins boil down to his wanting to be a good dad.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
I think that obviously, even 10 years into this, there's always things that you're like that are uncovered, right? Like, I didn't know the birthday gift aspect till Wendi flared her nostrils and she asked her about it. And I hope that there's a bunch of other things like that kind of come out, or just even like a lot of the stuff Jeff Lacasse was saying, like that he asked her to, hey, the TV was like a dorm room TV, I'll fix it for you, whatever it is. Like, all of these aspects, you see just the iniquity of these people, and so I applaud people who do have the capacity to get mad and not accept it. And I do think some of the people do it differently than I would, but I appreciate how some of the people in our community, do it, kind of get after the people, again, if you're kind to the cruel, you're cruel to the kind. Like, the Adelsons should be shunned, and those people who are giving them the benefit of the doubt are still befriending them. And I think with a lot of these situations, we all ask ourselves, what would we do? Right. So, Jay, you might have been through divorce, have been through tough situations. Obviously, Kathy had a tragedy in her family. Judy's been in similar situations. She deals with family law, for Christ's sake, you know. But I think that, you know, and we've had friends. I don't know about you guys, but we've had people who committed crimes and did things. Like we had a family friend who is growing up, the Cohens of Long Island, who the guy did some horrible things, and he had been to all of our bar and bat mitzvahs, my sisters and I, you know, and we were like, well, sorry, you know, we're not going to support you. Like, it's clear you did things that were wrong, you know? So it's kind of like Rabbi Harold Kushner's famous for also writing When Bad Things Happen in Good People. He also wrote, you know, how good do you have to be? And so these people, I give, like, I think Fancy Fiction is somebody who does it really adamantly to call out these people, you know, and, you know, Tova, who works about kids and their parents, and just the blatant hypocrisy in all of these people. You know what I'm saying? Like wanting to have somebody Jewish for your, you know, kids, and then being upset and meeting them on J-Date, you know, like and picking them, and then being upset that they're too Jewish, you know, like there's so much hypocrisy and mania, like, and now they are where they should be. And so I think we should feel pretty good about it. You know, good news is never late. And I think we are waiting to see Wendi, you know, and now I know, Jay, you want it to happen. Do you think it will happen?
I think it's going to happen. But I'm not, you know, I know there's a lot of attorneys who don't think it. I'm not an attorney. So like, I know legally there's different, all I could say is if they have enough to arrest her and it goes to a trial, she goes down. In my opinion, you know, like I said, legally, I don't know. I think there's enough, but I don't, like, driving by the crime scene, is that enough to like arrest someone? No, probably not. Well, they would have done it already, right? But just the way she lies every trial, like there's just, I don't know. And I just think there's motive. There's motive. Dan was accusing her of stealing money. They wanted to move. Like there's motive there, in my opinion. Obviously, it's not strong enough, or at least the prosecution doesn't think it's strong enough to go to like a grand jury or something. Well, they would have done already, or they're waiting. Like a lot of people think, you know, each person goes down, and then maybe after Donna goes down, they'll try that like a couple weeks after, then they'll go after Wendi. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you
That's
guys
what
think?
I think. That's what I think, because, you know, for those of you who watch practically everything about the case, you know, it made me feel really optimistic when Dave Ehrenberg, who's a state attorney, and Dan's friend Jared Ross, and Stephen Webster, who was Dan's former divorce attorney, they all said somewhere on YouTube in different shows that they think Wendi will be arrested, that there's more evidence.
And Carl Steinbeck, obviously, who's had a lot right on this case and does a great job. Yeah.
And like you said, Steve, each trial, because they're not going to have everything on Wendi in the first. Everything new, like that birthday came out during trial. None of us knew about the birthday stuff, really. I mean, we knew about the birthday, but like how they started framing it like this was the birthday present. Each trial, something new comes out. So probably during Donna's trial, something new is going to come out. And they definitely, like during Charlie's trial, they talked about when Georgia had Wendi on the stand. She's like, well, you forwarded this to email to people. And she's like, no, I didn't. And then Georgia had proof. So Wendi didn't know that Georgia had proof that she forwarded it to 13 people. So they clearly have more things than Wendi knows about, like when they got her computer. Like she wasn't as smart as she thinks she was, in my opinion. So
no, and you did a good job highlighting that in those videos, like even stuff like just like why, like, oh, were you on OkCupid at the same time you were seeing Jeff Lacasse? And she basically told her to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Like we've separated your phone, so be careful. So I'm hopeful too. You know, I think that's what we'd all like to see, and we hope so. You know, and I think people want to have faith in the judicial system. You know,
I mean, how could she not have known? Come on, she knew, and she was a part of it. That's what I don't know.
I think Georgia Kappelman is playing the long game, and I think she's playing chess, and she's ahead of all of them. And if the past is the best predictor of future behavior, she's going after each one methodically, one by one, maybe seeing what happens if somebody's going to flip. The toothpaste is getting pushed out of the tube, is getting more and more pressure at each level, and she has 100% success rate.
Yeah.
So she's going after Wendi, and Wendi will be convicted of something. I don't know what it's going to be, but there's multiple options. She
Yeah.
doesn't have to be convicted of first-degree murder. There's
Perjury.
multiple options.
Yeah.
She will be convicted of something. Georgia will not rest without going after Wendi Adelson. Somebody said in the chat that she's been dropping breadcrumbs into all the trials about something about Wendy's birthday and stuff like that she doesn't follow up on. That means she has something in her hip pocket she's choosing not to use, because either it wouldn't be appropriate or allowed. And why is she going to take the risk of putting Wendi information out in a Charlie trial that might be objected to and, you know, not allowed in court? And then she's already played that hand. So she's just going to keep it close to her vest because she didn't need all that for Charlie, obviously.
Yeah.
So we don't know what she's got close to the vest. She has dropped a few breadcrumbs, but there's way more tech now, even more than in Charlie's trial. And the tech is what's going to get Wendi. The tech about the drive to the crime scene, all of what is on her phone, all of what's on Donna's computers. Donna's computers are linked to Wendy's.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be stuff about Wendi on Donna's computers. And Donna's a dumbass. She's an old lady and a dumbass, and she's not as smart as Wendi and not as crafty as Wendi, and she's not going to protect herself as well as Wendi.
And
so
I don't know about the WhatsApp aspect of it, but as you, like, we as trial observers, she's asked that, you know, and both times she said something to the effect like, oh, like, you know, and again, I probably share Jay's exasperation, the sing-songy voice, the doe-eyed look, you know, just kind of the arrogance and, you know, or the coquettish way, like, she's deadly. Yeah, you want to shoot yourself, like, but in any case, yeah, you hope that there's a lot more where that other stuff came from. Lacasse, I'm sure, has more. I would hope that the WhatsApp stuff, you know, materializes. And I don't know why you say, why are you having an 18-minute phone call with, you know, Charlie on that day, you know?
Yeah, about a busted TV and should you repair it?
Yeah. Or just like, there's a million things, like, and again, I credit Carl and others, you know, and one other thing I meant to say was because, you know, I think one of the more astute observers on this is John Singer, and obviously I don't want to neglect Tim Jansen, who's got different thoughts on certain things, but definitely knows Tallahassee in this case. But like, one thing that John Singer said was that I thought was pretty compelling. He said, Georgia hates Wendi with every fiber of her being. Like, you could see the contempt dripping from her, you know? So I imagine if I'm Wendi, I'd want her to go down. If I'm Georgia, I want Wendi to go downtown to Chinatown too.
And
sorry, I should let you talk, Jay. And I'm curious what you guys thought of the jail calls between Donna and Charlie.
I was just going to say, it's what you said about Georgia is absolutely clear. And the last trial, she couldn't hold it in how much contempt she has for her. And there's that telling moment where it's a break and they keep the camera on Wendi, and she kept her cool during the first two trials. She is exasperated. Like, she is looking at the jury. She's like, I think that to me is like when he's like, they have more on me. Like, that's like her moment where like they have more on me than I think. And just I would say one thing about the calls is like Kathy said, she doesn't even know. They don't even know when they're on the freaking phone on a recorder. Like, you better believe their devices have something. But I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're careless. Donna was careless. Yeah. So, what about this? Do you think Georgia would offer something to Charlie? I don't think so at this late juncture. I mean, never say never, but I don't think Charlie's going to flip anyway, because he'd also have to tell the truth about his parents, who I think were both involved too. So, yeah, I don't see Georgia offering him anything. He was right in the thick of it. So.
I agree.
And I think Charlie is probably confidently sitting in jail thinking that he's going to win on an appeal. And he's going to drain every last dime that he has, every last bit of his son's inheritance on appellate lawyers that are going to be convincing him, just like dumbass Rash Mom did, that he has a chance and he has no shot at an appeal. But he will keep shoring out that stapled money to those appellate attorneys who'll keep convincing him, we got a shot at this, we got a shot at that. He has no shot at anything. But they'll keep taking his money, and they'll keep convincing him, and he'll keep convincing himself until the day he dies in prison.
Wow.
So delusional. That's the way they are.
But
yeah.
you know, again, you probably know these cases better than I do, but like Scott Peterson now, right? Like the Innocence Project, and I think there's a degree of kind of nefariousness with some of these Innocence Projects. You know, I've seen Roberta Glass and others talk about it. There's a lot of times it could be, just what you're talking about. Like, it's not about justice it's about they can make money, and they'll ennoble it by saying like, hey, everybody deserves a chance or an appeal or however it is. And they're opportunistic. And there's obviously so many faults in the system. But I don't know how Charlie feels. You know what I mean? Like, I think there are various times, again, in part because I'm not a freaking sociopath, but I think that I'm sure there are times like you heard on some of those calls, he was like, my life is over. And and then like his parents who are reassuring him, they're on their way to Dubai, and Vietnam. Like, don't worry, son, we'll be with you here the whole way.
All lying to each other.
Yeah. And so maybe he's now like, why did I do this all for this person? I screwed up, and I don't know, like I'd be sitting there in my cell and I'd be saying, you know what? Really? Do I have to keep doing this? And
yeah, he's probably very resentful towards Wendi.
He's not even visiting him. Like, what? I don't understand how, when she sent that message to the mom or this, that, the other. I don't know. Again, you all, have siblings or family, like, and I come from similarly enmeshed Jewish family, and I resent my sisters every day for other things, but I wouldn't obviously have killed their spouse, but I also, I don't know. I just don't understand though, like what's stopping her from visiting him in jail? Like, I'm just saying, like, can't she just, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I guess
because it would make her look guilty though. So I'm sure she's feeding her kids some big story about how, oh, I had no idea Charlie did this. How horrible. Let's cut off all contact with evil Uncle Charlie, but I had nothing to do with it. So
like, remember like the incredulity of Georgia, where she's like, you just knew today for 8 years. You know what I mean? I guess, like, is that, Katie, what do you think? I mean,
Fancy Fiction has a great thing. Look at her Instagram, because it has this face of Wendi. Look like she captured a moment where Wendi looks over at Charlie in the courtroom while she's waiting to testify, and the look on her face, she's describing it as this is less, I just found out that you've known for however many years the killer of my kid's dad. It's less that and more, I can't believe my brother's such a fuck up that he got us in this position or whatever. That's the look on her face. I think she was pre-throwing Charlie under the bus the very day that it happened by dropping into the Best Buy guy to the cops the joke. I think she was throwing suspicion everywhere, including at Charlie. I think she's been detached from him since then. And so I think she's not visiting him in jail because she doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, she doesn't give a shit.
I think she's detached. Wendy's out for Wendi. Personally, I think she's the sickest of all of them. I think she's the most deeply pathological sociopath of all of them and completely narcissistic. And I think she's Maddie Walker from Body Heat. And at the end of this, if she doesn't go to prison, she might be the one on Vietnam, detached from her own sons, sipping a cocktail with an umbrella out of it, thinking, I might have
the kids are 18 or something. You know what I mean?
Have a new boyfriend. I don't even think she's that attached to the boys. I mean, I think she is that deeply sociopathic personally.
And I think Georgia highlighted that, like, and she was kind of like, every single freaking call you're on, Charlie, with your mom, they're in this, kids are in the swings, they're this, they're never with.
Well, that's why she went down there. She needed another Dan. She wanted Dan out of the way, but wanted to replace him with Donna. And Donna wanted to relive her glory days as a young mother and take over those kids. And so she could have a life and be a young, youthful woman again in her little midlife crisis. Wendi handed the boys over to her. Why did they move walking distance from the boys' school when Wendy's living driving distance? Because Donna is taken over. So
by the
Wendi
way-
can be a swinging single, and Donna can relive her glory days as a young mother with the boys. And as she says to Charlie, I can't move into that apartment, Charlie, because I have 2 little boys. They're not your fucking kids, Donna.
Yeah,
Pardon the
that's right.
language.
Right. And
They're
by the
not-
way,
Yeah.
just
They're your grandchildren.
to what we were talking about earlier, that brings up another point. Like, yes, I think the prosecutors have a lot of different details. For example, you know, we may say, like, why are they asking her a question which doesn't seem directly involved with this? And they were asking, I remember her asking Charlie when she was cross-examining him, when did Wendi move back there or something? So meaning, like, if she got remember, like, she moved in with my parents, but then couldn't stay there because it was too small. But if she already had a down payment on an apartment, you know, in July, then that obviously shows premeditation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when they're moving to
Wasn't
Miami,
it May?
or
Wasn't
what
it-
that, she might have. I mean, and I'm
Yeah,
sure
I think it was in May when Harvey signed the lease to the condo.
See, those kind
Yeah.
of details are going to come up in Donna's trial.
Yeah.
Like all the and we don't know
Planning.
any of that, but you know, she's a domestic coordinator. She was doing all the research for Wendi of how to get out of a lease, how to turn off utilities, turn off the cable, all that stuff, how to find moving boxes. She was doing all that. And she's not going to cover all of her tracks with that.
Yeah.
Another really telling thing was when Fancy Fiction and I made the drive. We started at Wendi's house. And I know I've said it a million times, I'm going to say it again. I cannot tell you what a family-friendly, homey neighborhood that Wendi lived in. We were there like either on Halloween or around Halloween, and every house was tricked out for Halloween. Like, this is the kind of place that you could send your kids, like when we grew up, alone with their little buckets to do their trick-or-treating and not holding their hand every step of the way, because it was just a little strip of like a U of a street, and it was so safe and friendly. And her house backed up to like a big open, I don't know what it was, prairie or something behind it. So she had all this space. I mean, it was a perfect place to raise little kids. And there were kids all over the place. I mean, like the blow up things in the yards for the trick-or-treaters and all that. She left that environment to move into an apartment complex that looked like something I lived in when I was in college.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That was not for her children. That was for Wendi.
Yeah.
Have that life. Let's put the kids in an elevator and we got to take them up, and you know, there's maybe a pool with a fence around it, and that's the most socializing. They're getting no playing outside, no yard, no nothing. That told me everything I needed to know about Wendi as a mother, aside from the fact that she killed her kid's dad.
Yeah. Yeah, just a sociopath. And I think LaCasse is probably deeply in therapy all this time afterwards. And these Adelsons, like, use people, they discard them. And that's, you know, they're just, it's just crazy sociopathic behavior. And it's very disconcerting. But I feel like we're all looking forward to see them get justice, because it's, I don't know, like, you know, obviously Joel jokes about it. We joke about, like, I couldn't spend one day in jail, you know what I'm saying? Like, or a month, or however you want to adapt to it. And at some point they're going to have to ask themselves, was it worth it? Obviously. But I also think Wendi, you know, and the Casas talked about it, like, demonized Jeff so bad, you know, that they made it think, like, you know, was he a perfect person? No. Did he probably have an ego? Yes. You know, was he a driven person? You know, none of us are perfect, but they obviously didn't deserve this. I mean, you know, it's just, everybody else, 50% of the population gets divorced. They move on with their lives, and they recognize, like, you can't control everything, and you can take the law in your own hands. And,
and that the kids need both parents too.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's it, right? That's like always the tenet of divorced parents, right? Like, you have to, you know, love your kids more than you hate your spouse, you know? And so, just horrible, horrible people. And it's maddening. You know, look, when you see these cases, right? Like, look at, like, I'm obviously a veteran of the news business, right? And so there are times where somebody makes a mistake and they just say, okay, sorry, I screwed up. You know what I mean? Or I admit it. And then that's kind of it. You know what I mean? And that's like a lot of it like even with Watergate, right? Famously, they were like the cover up was worse than the crime. Like obviously they're not going to admit it, they're going to go to jail. But just the fact that they're perpetuating this for so long, that's probably adds to just kind of the, antipathy towards them. But yeah.
I wanted to circle back to something with you, Jay, because you and I had the same reaction. I think it was Fancy Fiction put video of a snippet of video of Wendy's interrogation or her police interview when Jane was in there.
Yeah.
And I think you and I had the same reaction. I had less of a reaction to Wendi and more of a reaction to Jane. And something about just seeing that edited out like that. I mean,
it's disgusting. Like, it's like, I think my video was like, is this an interrogation or is it a stand-up? Like they just laughing and like, what is so funny? Oh, it makes me so angry when I watch that part of the. I mean, it all makes me angry.
With all that stuff, and I give Carl credit, but it's like also like just obvious, and Donna and Charlie betrayed this when they're like, what are the odds of you driving past a crime scene or whatever it is? But also just like, I'm not necessarily into the owl t-shirt, which may be a little, kind of tinfoil hat stuff, like, with that. But I do think, I think like, okay, you didn't shower that day and you're meeting your friends for lunch. Why? Like,
and you're in such a rush that you still drove miles
out
of the way.
I shower once a week, whether I need to or not, so I don't see why she wouldn't have showered.
Right. And there's the liquor store that's right next to her, but she decides to drive,
Right. I think what is going to nail her less than the drive to the crime scene is the multiple versions that she's told of that, because there's no reason to not remember it correctly, especially contemporaneously. And she was lying like immediately. And there's no reason to lie about it. There's every reason to have it burned in your brain, and especially being driven by, there is crime scene tape right near where my kids slept last night. And she knows that. And that's why she lied. But if and when she takes the stand, when she can be properly cross-examined on her role, not testifying about somebody else, but herself, that's going to be her undoing, is the lying about it. Not so much the drive to it, but that she has lied so many times. She's told at least 3 different versions of that.
By the way, if you remember, and I think like with some of these trials, right, and maybe they're melding together for some of us, but I remember in one of Georgia's closing accents, she was like, it wasn't just what she did that day, it's what she didn't do that day. She didn't say, where are my kids, or that, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's just, again, for somebody who was class valedictorian, somebody who, as Chris DeCoste said, was wicked smart, or all of those kind of things. Like, and we all know our parents, and our parents could be unreasonable, but you could also, if you're not a sociopath yourself, say, listen, I'll get through this, mom and dad. You don't need to go crazy. Enjoy your other grandkids with my brother who you don't talk to. Whatever it is she could have said to mollify them, and she chose not to, because she wanted all the attention. How you do anything is how you do everything. As Red Robe Judy knows, like you're at your kid's bar mitzvah, and you're dressed up, where you're calling attention to yourself. You're not wearing a demure, nice,
nice motherly outfit.
Yeah, maternal outfit. Yeah.
Well, she's such a socio. I think this comes out, and she's such a sociopath, but she tries to act like as if a regular person, and she fails spectacularly in the police interview, in her, on the stand. She is trying to be a regular person, but she's such an actress. She fails miserably because she doesn't know what it's like to have real feelings, to have empathy, to think about what other, like, that's just, I've watched her interview so many times. It's just, she just fails at being a regular, empathetic, normal human being. She can't do it. She's like you said, Kathy.
And it also comes to like, and why am I like blanking on the doctor's name? The OBGYN who ran for
Dr. Graber.
But they also don't seem to have people sticking up for them or talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, they shouldn't, but like this family uses people. Like, if you think, like, I remember Georgia saying to Charlie, like, you had no intention of marrying Katie Magbanua. Like, you weren't going to marry her. You know what I mean? Like, they were using these people. She was using Jeff Lacasse. She was cheating on him. She had like a surrogate babysitter and kind of just a lapdog, and over there, or somebody really cared for her, and she took advantage of his weaknesses. He wanted to be a dad. He wanted companionship. And those, I don't know if you ever heard, there's a woman named Dr. Romani, who's really very astute about narcissists. And these people are attractive to them because they have something that attracts them. Katie had something, was abused by a narcissist and her own greed. And I'm not absolving her at all, trust me, but they took advantage of people who needed stuff from them, money, attention, and I don't know, these are awful, awful people. So I guess I'm answering my own questions about why does this kind of predominate in our minds all this time, where other cases might not. Yeah. I think
I'm sorry.
I was going to ask Creative Minds as a question here. Like, anyone think that Harvey's going down?
Yeah. What do
I
you
hope
think?
so. I mean, maybe, again, these people are all, I don't know if they've lived hell for in their own making, right? I do think Dan is haunting them from their graves, but it's even, they're living in the jail of themselves, in their own kind of mind, I would think, but I hope Harvey goes down. I think eventually, yeah, I think they'll find stuff about him for sure.
I think if they go after Wendi, and she thinks she can wiggle out of it by flipping on Harvey, she 100% will, if he's the only one left standing. And then, I mean, he'll flip on any of them for sure, without a doubt. Wendi would flip on every last one of them, but Harvey might be the only one left standing, and she might serve up Harvey and get a lesser deal. But I don't think they will ever settle for a deal with Wendi Adelson that doesn't include prison time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Follow the money. Yeah, I'm sure Harvey had something to do with the money. And I mean, I hope he does get charged with something.
Remember at the Japanese restaurant, right? It showed he knew something.
He was totally complicit. Yeah, he knows what's going on. He wasn't surprised. He was totally in. Yeah.
The checks came out of his account, whether he wrote them or not. They came out of his account. So, and he was with Donna that night when we're outside your house. He was with her. That's admitted. So, he's balls deep.
So we just have to see what's found on his phone and his computer. So hopefully there's more. Do you guys have to get going? It's over an hour.
I have a show at 9, so yeah, in a couple minutes I'm gonna have
to. Okay, great.
But you guys can keep on without me. I mean, you don't have to stop because of me.
No, I actually do have some work to do and stuff. So, yeah, do you guys want to watch that quick little video? One more?
Yes.
Sure,
I'm going to end it with a video.
Okay, it's just, this is called Donna Adelson's Hitler Youth comment.
Yeesh.
So, because there's so many of her emails, this is just a snippet. So we'll go ahead and play this real fast. Okay.
The point isn't out to help you. It's clear since Judge Hobbs' last ruling that she could care less about anything you have to say on your behalf. You need to help yourself. Wendi, most of the wars that have been fought for the last couple of thousands of years have been over religion. Charlie brought up a good point when he said that Americans were dropped behind enemy lines during World War II wearing Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. They had a job to get done.
Hey, I'm just going to thank you guys. I got to go for my show. I'm sorry. Thanks so much for having me on. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you guys so much. Nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much.
See you on
In a
YouTube.
very short time frame to accomplish it. If you dressed your kids up in Hitler Youth uniforms and brought them down here, I could care less if it was an act of defiance. It would show Jimmers that he's not in control. If your children are baptized, it doesn't make them Christian. Ben and Lincoln aren't really pirates because they dress up like Jake the Pirate. It's an act. But he'll still be in control of everything, including what he wanted. Sole control of the boys' religious lives. Why let him? Why not stand up to this fucker? Why not fight? We're not talking about a lifetime of this. You have the boys a very, very limited number of days before the mediation takes place. This is all part of an act. You know, Grandma was one tough and very smart lady. I think about her all the time, and I think about what advice this very intelligent woman, a wonderful reader of people, who loved you more than words could ever express, would say to you. She'd tell you to fight with every bone of your body. Fight for yourself, your boys, and for the best possible life you can have. You know that's true. Fight for yourself, Wendi. What's on sale at the ABC liquor store? Bullet Rye whiskey on sale, $3 off. Wendi.
Parody.
Just like your necklace says, never, never, never give up. Nicholas is back from the grave, haunting me. Wear Nazi uniforms to get what they wanted. Help yourself. You know, Wendi, most of the wars that happen.
The outtakes.
You know, Wendi, most of the wars that have been fought for the last couple stuff like Jake the Pirate, it's an act.
That's an excellent
The
job.
last face.
I also think you found a place that really looked like the bump, you know, like it looks like you went down to South Beach, you know? Yeah.
Well, it just so happened that I found those concrete stairs that were kind of high outside the bar center, and happened to be there.
It looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was on a weekend. Yeah, sometime, during the COVID time when nobody was around. So
That's in Raleigh. That's like the North Carolina bar.
It's in Cary. Yeah,
Cary.
It's actually pretty close to my office. So anyway, yeah. So it's all about drawing attention to this horrible, heinous crime about Dan. And there's so many details and nuances to the case that there's just so much to focus on. That's why we have so many YouTubers now, covering it.
Mhm.
Is there's a hearing on July? Like there's it right?
22nd.
And what's
Yes.
that about? Just like where are we gonna have trial? Like is it confirms it?
Yeah, case management.
Yeah.
Like how they're doing with discovery and stuff like that.
Yeah. So hopefully there are no delays. Doesn't seem like there should be.
I don't
any.
think there'll be any more delays unless there's like some major issue that comes up. Like Dan Ranchbaum trips and breaks his toenail and has to
Well,
come in on crutches.
Yeah, I wonder how much that other attorney is going to do on the case, because it seems like Rashbaum is doing everything.
I bet he's going to have him do jury selection,
Yeah,
you know,
probably.
because he's local. You know,
Yeah.
that's probably going to be Donna's remedy for, you know, all the Tallahassee, every person in Tallahassee is against all the Adelsons and out to get them. So that's probably going to be her remedy as a local
Yeah.
jury selection person. I mean, I was just struck, you know, aside from the comedy of your video of like just something as simple as walking stairs like that, Donna Adelson will never do again in her life without shackles and a guard in attendance. You know, that running across the parking lot, she will never have the freedom to do that
Run
in her life.
You know,
To
in
go
nature.
to a cemetery and visit a loved one in a cemetery.
Call her son.
Well,
I mean, which obviously is not in that video, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all of those things. Walk into a liquor store, drink liquor. I mean, she will just never in the rest of her life have any of those freedoms again. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all feel pretty confident that she's going to get convicted.
Yeah.
So I sure hope that's what would happen, because I'd be totally shocked if she's found not
No,
guilty.
I can't see it. And I also, you wonder what's going through Harvey's mind, right? I mean, at 80 years old, he's, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, don't these people feel responsible? Like you were saying, Wendi, just all she thinks about is herself, and she's able to just present herself like a victim, right? Like the person who kills his parents and then asks the court for mercy because he's an orphan, you know? It's like that, you know, but like,
Yeah. Well, Harvey seems to at least have a little bit of a moral compass, because he did seem guilty, or he felt guilt-ridden during that weekend when he was acting all weird after Dan was shot. So, you know, I hope deep down inside he does feel horrible and feels regretful, and he knows they did something horrible to Dan.
yeah.
But I think for Wendi, she's just like, whatever, you know, what.
Like in her
We
mind,
had to
she rationalized it. He
Yeah.
was such a horrible person. He left us no choice, you know.
Yeah. And who cares? Let me have my
Yeah.
beautiful life and have my boyfriend and have all the family money.
What's so scary is like, and also just, yeah, and it's infuriating because you look at it, you're like, okay, we don't realize how much money she got, or did your parents make this much money, or did your brother have a Ferrari? And she plays dumb to all of this kind of stuff when it suits her. But it's like, if they could have given $1 million to Dan to have him do that, they could have given $1 million for, for like a better life for your kids, or just to kind of do it, you know. And yeah, awful people, awful people, and only 5 months till the trial. And
yeah, I'm kind of steeling myself based on Donna's comments about, when she was contemplating the suicide, and she's saying, well, I've had a great life, and, and all that kind of stuff. With that thinking, I will not be surprised if once she's convicted and she accepts that this is the rest of her life in prison, and she'll be separated from, never be able to see or talk to Charlie again. And she knows damn well Wendi will never visit her, very limited life. I suspect at some point we will hear Donna Adelson say, it was worth it because I had 10 years with my grandsons.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say she might kill herself, but
no, she won't kill herself. But I think she will reconcile it and say something like that in a way that the Markels could hear it, just to
interesting.
one last stick it to him, like, I won. I had those 10 years that you didn't have, and it was worth it for that, because now I'm old, and so what? They were outgrowing me anyway. And her rationalizing that and finding a way to get that out there, just to stick it to him. I'm sort of stealing myself for that, because I'll be surprised if we don't hear that.
Well, I hope we get more. That maybe it's up to True Lifestyles or somebody like to get more audio tapes, you know, of jail calls. I mean, I hope that, you know, this time.
I'll try to get more. I did
please.
make a request
Good.
a few weeks ago, but nobody responded. And I was even willing to pay for them, but nobody responded to me. So maybe I'm not using the proper FOIA request words or something. But supposedly, if he's in confinement, administrative confinement, then he's not supposed to have calls now. I don't know if that's true.
That's what Bree said. Bree said that she could no longer talk to him on the phone. When she showed up on my channel, like right after he made that transfer, and said that he couldn't have visitors, nor could he lost his phone privileges. So,
well, did you correspond with her?
I had a little back and forth with her when she showed up on my channel, kind of spewing one night. And she was doing it all over the place, I guess. Reddit, I think, is where it started. And, you know, I mean, I kind of understood not what she was saying, but the state of mind, because she was used to having all this contact with Charlie, and it was just immediately cut off, and she was spinning, you know, so it was just, you know, going out everywhere. And she's a very troubled person, you know, and, you know, anyway, yeah, she made a brief appearance, and she was spewing, and then she sort of calmed down. And anyway, that was the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of weird thinking that we don't know who's watching us. So, you know, better to be careful, I suppose. That's why I always phrase things as allegedly, or this is just my opinion, you know, the same old stuff. Like, these are all just our opinions. So, yeah. So what's next for your channels, if you don't mind sharing? What else are you going to do? We have 5 months before her trial.
Well, Society Page and I have sort of stumbled into a project. It all started because we found out through fancy fiction that the woman that I called the Bulldog, who is Wendy's friend and the person that accompanied her to court with the blonde curly hair that Charlie mentioned on the call to his mother, who said she was attractive when he didn't recognize his own sister and all that. That woman is an attorney, and she's out of Santa Fe. She's Wendy's friend, so she's not who I thought she was. Somebody was a victim representative, which makes more sense that she's her friend, because she was like really a bodyguard for her that day. And somehow her name is Morgan Honeycutt.
Yeah.
And when I heard that name, somehow my mind went straight to Thurston Hall III on Gilligan's Island.
Oh, that's funny.
So we are now cooking up a whole Rashigan's Island, where we've got it all cast, and go to Society Page's page, because he's been doing graphics on it.
Today,
and there's going to be a whole series.
And chat and Society Page, I'm a fan. Very good work. You know, you're very talented.
Crazy. So we've been Morgan. So it's Morgan Honeycutt does it. It's Thurston Hall III. There's that dastardly Morgan Honeycutt has shown up on the island to steal my treasures, my wealth. So she's his nemesis, and she shows up on the island, and she's rowing to shore off her yacht in her evening gown. Anyway, so we are going in this whole, every time I'm on a live, I'm doing this intermittent fasting now. So I'm going on live every day just to keep my sanity and to keep myself away from the kitchen. So we're going on there in the mornings, and we are all spinning into this.
It's funny. Society Page asks if I think you're crazy. And no, I think it's kind of the old, like, I think you're very creative. I appreciate both of your work and attention to it, you know, and
we're losing our
I heard you on with Society Page, you know, and I think I agree that Bloomington's a great town, and you know, Breaking Away is a great movie. And it's interesting, like you guys were talking about that movie, or just what a great movie it is. And part of that movie is the loss of innocence of that character, where he's like, you know, he couldn't believe like the Italians were cheating like that, you know, and the loss of innocence. And I think, like, I don't know, that same kind of just shock, you know, just, is disillusioning when you see this in people, right? Like you'd otherwise think are decent people. But I don't know how I threaded the needle between that movie.
Full circle. Full circle.
Page, but I think good stuff, good for you guys. Like there's a lot of creative videos that you put together and just thoughts. I wouldn't even have thought about the spoons that you had on. You know, I remember the spoon thing, but I mean, there's all the minutia, like, you know, and you would see that with Fancy's graphics.
Donna and the spoons.
With like the lobster or the stapled money or the stapler or just, you know, go-karts but I think these are bad people. And, you know, somebody's asking you to do, your fellow Catholics asking you to do your Wendi impression. And what I was going to say, it's like, it's informed by the Wheel of Fortune, right? Because she had such a New York accent, right? With
Donna did the domestic.
Oh, we're talking about Donna.
Yeah.
About Wendi.
Oh, Wendi. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Kathy. Yeah. What's your Wendi impression?
Oh, I try doing them both anyway.
Okay, you want to do it? Say
the
something.
Wendi?
Yeah, sure. Do you feel like it?
Yeah, that's it. And I
sure.
Oh wow.
Sure.
Oh, interesting. That's
Bobblehead lips.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I liked when even at the interrogation where she said, and the clerk complimenting my blue eyes, and he didn't even miss a beat, and he was like, but they're contacts, right?
Text.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And
I do want to say on a serious note, though, that, you know, we're spinning off on this crazy Rashigan's Island thing, stuff like that. Just to, you know, we're in a pause. We're keeping our sanity. We'll be dumping in with full, you know, throttle into the case when it starts and all that, when the trial starts and everything. But I think that a lot of people get drawn to true crime because they're trauma survivors, and on a lot of different levels. And coming into true crime is a place just that draws that. And so I do focus on my channel about healing and trauma recovery and things like that. And we talk about those things. And as Jay said, that, like, you know, it kind of takes him back to his divorce and things that he went through there. And I think for myself, the more this case unfolds, I'm seeing elements of my past in this. I think other people are, because many people have been through nasty divorces in their family. Many people have been triangulated between people and not knowing where their loyalties are supposed to be as children and grew up in that mess. Yours truly was one of those. And, you know, had duplicitous people in their life. There's so many themes in this case that really aren't murder and toxic themes, that you don't have to have had a murder in your family to get very deeply affected by this case and feel compassionate for the victims and the surviving victims, and, you know, estrangement issues, alienation issues. There's all kinds of things that bring people interested in this trial. And it's important to honor that and think of it as like a place where maybe you can find some healing as well. So we do that on my channel as well.
I think
yeah. So I mean, it's great when Kathy does all of these kind of like impromptu sharing moments, because, you know, I thank you for sharing so much of yourself to all the viewers out there, you know, because that's like, it's kind of scary putting yourself out there, especially talking about your family issues. So I think a lot of people appreciate that candidness. Yeah. Plus you do a good job of getting rid of all the bad people.
The naughties. So, they're all in the detention center, and Donna's greeting them with a spoon.
Yeah.
And they show up.
So it's a safe space for people who, you know, support each other.
Yeah. We don't have any nonsense in there. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So Wendi impression, I don't know if I have more spare time. I did get the Wendi court dress, the latest one.
Oh wow.
So
how'd you figure it out? How'd you figure it out? What it was?
Just searching.
Have your ways.
Okay, so TSP is wondering, you know, does Steve think we're strange? So I probably spent like at least an hour searching the internet to try to find that blue dress with the asymmetrical neckline. And it's not the exact brand though, because it's facing the opposite direction, but who cares? You know, I could do a reverse.
Yeah, flip your camera.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll try to do something.
So you just kind of Googled certain terms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Makes me think of that Bonnie Willis, right? Where she had it seemed like she had the zipper on the front where it should have been the back, like she was wearing it the wrong way. Like these people in these cases, you know, there's going to be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views when Wendy's testimony, Donna's, you know. But yeah, good for you guys. Yeah, I think, yeah, no, I share your kind of fascination with this and appreciate the attention you placed on it. You're all doing a valuable service, and you know, hope to see justice soon.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I bought this book used. There's no way I would have bought it new, you know. So
Oh, wow.
I didn't give money.
Have you been reading it? Have you been?
Oh, yeah, I already did because
wow.
I did some shows, you know, doing commentary last year.
But you had read the whole thing, like.
Yeah, I read the whole. Well, not on YouTube.
You're
but
probably prejudiced. No, I know, but you're probably prejudiced about it. But is it really like that self-absorbed and horrible of a book, right?
Yeah, to me, you know, it was just like, you know, like the whole narrator, she's so like smug and full of herself and self-congratulatory, like she's like yeah. So, you know, it is a pretty crappy the but it's interesting to hear Wendy's voice. That's the only reason why I thought it was worthwhile. So, okay. Well,
Georgia, there are 3 narrators.
Yeah, it's her plus 2 of her clients. So, yeah. Well, my voice is dying here. And it's over an hour and a half. So, thank you guys so much for your time.
Time flies when you're
next time I gotta bring the spork. Sporks and the
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Everybody. Have a good night.
See you soon.
Thank you.